stories making the headlines in Nigerian newspapers. I have with me in the studio CEO of CKN News, Chris Kehinde Nwaju, and Chartered Accountant and Public Affairs Analyst, Sheson Bukwande. Gentlemen, good morning. Thank God it's Friday, and you're looking the part.
It's good ready to deal,
All right, let's head straight to the papers now, and I begin with the blueprint. Buhari will inject fresh energy into Nigeria-Russia relations. Hails Nigeria's new World Bank's Bees Index rating. PNB building globally competitive economy, APC. To the front page of the Daily Trust now, Nigeria climbs 15 places on Ease of Doing Business Index, records $5.13 billion FDI in 5 years. A strategy working, Buhari, more reform needed, Chamber of Commerce. And on the front page of the Daily Times, ASU threatens showdown over IPPIS, says dragging universities into IPPIS may plunge them into another crisis. IPPIS will constitute an impediment in ability of universities to recruit staff for new programs. And finally, on the front page of News Direct, Buhari secures $150 billion investment from Russia to buy 12 attack helicopters. BMO commends Buhari as NNPC Russian firm signed MOU to revamp refineries. Gentlemen, we'll be looking at this story on the front page of the News Direct, and I think it is also on the front page of Blueprint as well. This Africa-Russia summit, Buhari, the president rather, was able to secure $150 billion investment for the country. And one of the areas that they're looking at is the Ajakuta steel plant that has been on the minds of a lot of Nigerians, looking at the fact that we are looking at diversifying the economy. And you would recall that Russia was actually the people that pioneered that project in Nigeria in the early days. So what do you make of this arrangement, gentlemen? I'll start with you, Sheson.
Yeah, it's a welcome development, and I applaud the government for this step. But my challenge is when you look at several investment and several moves being made by this government, we work externally and we are not consolidating internally.
How do you mean?
The structure to really make some of those things viable are really not there. Implementation strategy is really poor, and the infrastructure that will make some of this investment we're talking about are not just there. If you look at some of the things that will make this investment viable, which is infrastructure, take for example power. It's not there. Take about good roads. Not there. So if you want to, you discover that when you plan in that investment and you're expecting good returns on your investment, some of those decayed things would have eat it up. That is what we are facing currently. Most of the investment, even the people that are making, so I learned we've been ranked 15, you know.
Places on the ease of doing business.
What is ease of doing business? What has he achieved? There are no good roads to get to your office, to get that thing done. You work, and at the end of the day, you cannot recoup any good return. You do the road yourself. The infrastructures are not there. Part of the things we need to do is to have a proper monitoring of some of the things and put the right structure in place to make sure that some of those things we're talking of are being enjoyed. As we speak, it looks as if things are nosediving rather than we having an improved thing. We keep saying that our GDP has increased. We don't know the measure. This is not an aspect where we have to talk theoretically. But every masses that are supposed to benefit from the growth that we claim that we are having are not just having it. You discover, I was looking in this part of the state. You now see that the major means of transportation now is bike.
Absolutely.
You have, we can't call names, but we have several people that have invested. And look at the risk of driving bike on our major roads. But people have to resort to it because if you need to catch up your appointment, that's the best thing to you because the roads are bad.
Chris, this investment, because some have been talking about the fact that our president keeps moving around, having meetings, but the benefits are not being seen, so to speak. Now we are seeing that the Russian firm has signed an MOU to revamp our refineries. So perhaps we might be seeing something happen soon. What do you envisage?
For once, I'll give it to the federal government, I'll give it to the president. For me, this is the best we've had since the president came into office about 5 years ago. In terms of investment, in terms of looking for international assistance in some of our key structures. The Ajaokuta Steel Company, if you remember, was, as you rightly mentioned, started with the Russians. Yes. At the point they decided to leave, when our government and they saw the level of corruption. Yes, reneged on small agreement. At the time, we turned to Ukraine to also help out. We had issues and rest of them. Then, at a point also, the federal government came to try to see if they could privatize that and rest of it. But we cannot overemphasize the benefits accruable from that project. If you have not been there before, you know the magnitude.
I grew up there.
I grew up, I served there. You know, I served there. And Ajaokuta, Itakpe, you know, both of them, yeah, they're just within the same, not too far. If we can get that project completed, it is going to turn a lot of things for us in this country. So, which is why I totally commend the government. And also, recently also, the government also secured a $3 billion loan from the World Bank to key into the power sector. Yes. My problem is not getting all these things, but the problem is that we still have to tackle the root of these problems, and that is corruption. By the time we get the $3 billion, I can assure you very well that some of those money will go into certain people's pockets, politicians and the rest of them. At the end of it, there are so many. Don't forget what we spent during the Obasanjo's government, the issue of the IPPs and the rest of them. Till now, that project is still being probed, and nothing came out of it. Instead of us having a high-level percentage in our electricity generation, transmission, distribution, everything is dwindling. So I hope and I pray that this will be able to help. But I like the way the Russians are going about it. It's not just giving you the money. They're not coming to give us the money. They are going to put down the infrastructure. They are going to, like now also, they also have, yes, they have interest in it because it's going to be partnership. Okay, so if it fails, they also fail in that wise. So, but for me, this particular project, based on what the meeting he had with the Russian President Putin, and the outcome of it, I like what was happening. But the problem we also have is that if Buhari leaves in about 3 years' time, which is definitely he's going to leave, how are we sure that whichever government is coming is going to continue? That has always been the problem. Because government comes irrespective of whether it's going to be APC or PDP or YPP or CKP or whatever. The problem is, are we going to have that level of, is the incoming government going to respect the agreement we've reached with the Russians? Because
which has been a challenge.
It has always been a challenge all the while, because that's it started. I think it started during the Obasanjo Murtala regime. Subsequent governments were reneging on that. By now, would have gotten this done.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so
we are also buying 12 attack helicopters, and we see how that will change the whole in our fight.
Yes. You know the problem we probably have, especially with the United States and the European countries, in trying to get in some level. And I think that this is time for us to now change our foreign policy also. Right. We should start changing our foreign policy. We're only looking at the West.
We'll start off with the Blueprint newspaper. It says here, Buhari will inject fresh energy into Nigeria-Russia relations. Hails Nigeria's new World Bank Business Index rating. PMB building globally competitive economy, that's according to the APC. The Daily Trust newspaper this morning says here, Nigeria climbs 15 places on Ease of Doing Business Index, records $5.13 billion FDIs in 5 years. Our strategy working, says Buhari. More reforms needed, as according to the Chamber of Commerce. We move to the Daily Times newspaper. It says here, ASU threatens showdown over IPPIS. And the writer says dragging university into IPPIS may plunge them into another crisis. IPPIS will constitute an impediment in ability of varsity to recruit staff for new programs. The News Direct is saying Buhari secures $150 billion investment from Russia to buy 12 attack helicopter. BMO commends Buhari as NNPC Russian firms sign MOU to revamp refineries. The Vanguard says federal government ASU lock horns over government payroll system. And the writer says ASU's resistance misplaced, says finance minister. ASU fires back, says it's illegal against varsity autonomy, vows resistance, restates its breach of 1992 agreement. So we will take the story and stay with the headlines in the Daily Trust newspaper this morning. Nigeria climbs 15 places on ease of doing business index. Records $5.13 billion FDIs in 5 years. Our strategy working, says Buhari. More reforms needed, according to the Chamber of Commerce. That's in the Daily Trust newspapers, and that's what we're going to be talking about this morning. Gentlemen, Nigeria has climbed 15 places on ease of doing business index. What have we done right?
Well, I wouldn't know what we've done right. And although I may also have my own personal opinion in some of what we are on ground, and we have seen the situation on ground. So I don't know how they arrived at the indices they use, but it's good news for us. Okay. The area where I may a little bit agree with them is in the area of registration, company registrations. That has been decentralized now.
Made easier.
Yes, it has been made easier, very, very easy. Unlike before, where you have to start going to CAC. You know what we were going through in those days, go to CAC, right? But now, most of these things can be done online. And that in itself can, as I was telling somebody, my boss, some few months back, and in the US, all you just need is just go into the, take up your computer, do your search, go into your register. Once the search comes out, which comes in within minutes, and once you can find that company, you go on and register. Within 10 minutes, you've registered a company in the US if you have the relevant information. But here we still have that problem, because when you do your search, the name will come out. Then it could take another month. But in terms of registration of companies and rest of that has been very, very, that is okay with us. And that in itself will help many organizations that want to come into business, either externally or internally. That is, but when we look at other indices, one of the most critical aspects of business running in Nigeria is the issue of power. Yeah. That we've not gotten right. In fact, it's getting worse. Okay, in my area, I've not had light for 2 weeks. And Ikeja Electric will continue telling you they will come to look at it, and the rest of them.
And you still pay for not
yes, of course. At the end of it, you still be charged and giving exorbitant bills and the rest of them. So that is very, very key. Then areas of transportation is also key. Our roads are not getting better. It's getting worse. Then when you're now talking of foreign investment, security is also very vital and very key. If an investor is coming to your country and realizes that on getting here, you'll be kidnapped, he will think twice before coming. So those are the areas of, but it's a good one for us, and I think we should be able to consolidate on that.
All right. Let's have your view.
Yeah, good thing that we've improved by 15 KEDA in the business. If I pick it up from where CKN stopped, the registration is just the beginning of the whole thing. The basic infrastructure, people that I don't know the indices they've actually put together, but maybe majorly we are only talking of the aspect of registering the business. If you register a business, to execute it, to carry, and you see there's something we call continuity in business. That matters so much. If you look at the cost of running your office on diesel 24/7.
Even if not diesel, at least petrol.
Either
fuel.
Which way. The power is really not working. If we leave the power sector, talked about how to even assess. I will always say this, a journey of 10 minutes take you 3 hours. Of what productivity can it be for you? You just discover that when you get to where you want to even do the meeting, you don't even have anything viable because you are fact out. You discover that not just that alone, multiple taxes is affecting business day by day. And we are not expanding the tax net. We concentrate more on the people that are actually committed in paying the little that they have to pay. And people are not even getting value for what they are paying for. You have to fix your road. Please, where I currently operate from, we don't even have a road. We drive a canoe to our office these days. You park your car, where you're supposed to spend minimal cost on your vehicle, you can't even go out. The internet facility, broadband is like you are paying forever.
Luxury.
So those things, if you are saying we are improving, for those carrying out the business, I will tell you, well, I can't speak their mind, but I carry out business in this country. It's not interesting. We are nosediving day by. You'll find it difficult even to pay staff because bulk of the money that you have as savings has gone into you fixing the road, running power, and doing so many other things. So if we want to talk of this holistically, we should look at other infrastructure to be put in place to make sure that not just registering, what is the benefit of getting registration done easily and you are unable to continue with the business? That is the area we should look up to. If we are making the registration easier, government should hype the game of putting those infrastructure. It's raining now. Yeah. I'm sure today there is no business. Most people won't be able to go anywhere.
Because of the traffic that will be built
of course,
up and
it's sure. Everywhere. Flood is everywhere. The port road won't allow you. So if I leave this place to get to the office that should take you like 20 minutes, you might spend another 2-3 hours. So you just discover that let me go home and operate from home. But you even get home, you want to use the internet, it's because it's raining. Definitely you can know that the internet will not flow. So we should look at bringing the infrastructure to the right place where the business will be very easy for everyone to venture into.
Okay, but looking at this index now, do you see us climbing higher despite all of the shortcomings?
We should. I think we should. But we have to realize that the SMEs is always the driving force in every economy. Yeah. Okay, so if we are not getting right with the SMEs, because then we are running into trouble, because they employ the highest number of people. Okay, our unemployment rate ratio is rising by the day. Students are leaving the university; they are not getting jobs. You understand what I'm trying to say? Then he has talked about multiple taxation. That in itself can discourage investments. Because if you are coming in and you realize that whatever you are going to make, you are going to be overtaxed and the rest of them, double, triple, now it's no longer double taxation. We used to talk of double taxation. It's now triple, multiple taxation. That in itself can create, because normally in advanced wars, they try to reduce taxation, okay, so that people can be able to, so that you can generate income, you can generate employment and the rest of them. Several other countries are talking of the multiple employment ratio. In the US, on a weekly basis, you see them giving the analysis that, so this is how many employment we'll be able to generate this month. Now in Nigeria, companies are closing down, whether we like it or not. Yeah. Companies are closing down.
Now, we always talk about getting outside investment, external investment into the country, foreign investment. Yes. But we never talk about internal investment.
That is why I was talking about the SMEs.
That's the work of the SMEs.
That's what I just said.
That's SMEs. But you see, for foreign investors, they always get some tax rebate or tax leeway. Yes. But for the SMEs, they don't seem to enjoy that.
They're even multiple.
The fact is, we don't have equal basis. You are just inviting outsider. And for real, you have foreign direct investment into the country, because if you go to the airport daily, you have people just flowing in because they have relief. But for we, the indigenes, we don't have that leverage to operate at the level at which they are operating. And what we discover is that some of them even come in and collapse the business that the indigenes are doing. One, they have, if you look at some of those companies, their country sponsors them, back them up with finance to do. Here, you cannot even have easy access. These days, a banker comes to you and say you have facility to get loan. The CBN has mandated them that there's a threshold of which they must give out loan. But the interest you are going to pay on that thing will be so much that you cannot even break even.
Also, we also talk about the getting the loan itself.
The collateral. Even some of them are saying for some certain amount of money, you don't need collateral. You don't, but the interest rate is killing. In US and other places, you have interest rate of single digit. 3-5%. Here you are talking of about 24%. What margin are you going to put on a business that you are going to recoup that kind of interest to be paid back and still be able to have your operating cost? You are still going to pay salary, you are still going to run digital. And we are talking of other countries that are having single digit as their interest rate. So if we are talking of ease of doing business, as far as we are concerned, it's just one side we're looking. The people that did this, they have their criteria of rating us. But for the people that are doing business, it's not getting interesting at all. At all.
CKN mentioned something about power. It is a critical situation now. We have invested a lot of money since the Obasanjo days to revamp our energy sector, our power sector. Yet nothing has been done about it, or nothing. There seems to be no improvement. We have some money is coming in as well.
Theo, we will continue to invest and invest in the power sector if you don't have the structure right. Where we are getting it wrong is, see, majority of the DISCO from the report from transmission tells us that they reject what they are supplying to them because the architecture of the DISCO, it's wrong. They cannot, the energy loss that they are facing and experiencing, and it's going to get wider with this advocate for metering of everyone. Because if you cannot nip it by the ball, this is, you see, it's here that we hear of people telling us you need to get meter for free and get some things done. We need to put those infrastructure in place, all these cobwebs that we're talking, people be able to trace where there are faults.
We cannot transmit what we are generating. That is the problem we have, because the distribution channel is already choked. So if we are generating 6,000 megawatts, if you can only transmit to, then the remaining 3,000 is just a waste. So that is the problem we are having. So we have to build up the infrastructure.
Now we'll start with the blueprint. Buhari will inject fresh energy into Nigeria-Russia relations. Hails Nigeria's new World Bank Business Index rating. PNB building globally competitive economy. APC. To the front page of the Daily Trust now, Nigeria climbs 15 places on Ease of Doing Business Index. Records $5.13 billion FDI in 5 years. A strategy working, Buhari says, more reforms needed, Chamber of Commerce. And to the front page of the Daily Times, ASU threatens showdown over IPPS, says dragging varsities into IPPS may plunge them into another crisis. IPPS will continue, and impediment in ability of varsities to recruit staff for new programs. All right, to the front page of the News Direct now. Buhari secures $150 billion investment from Russia to buy 12 attack helicopters. BMO commends Buhari as NNPC Russian firm signed MOU to revamp refineries. And finally, on the front page of the Vanguard, federal government, ASU lock hands over government payroll system. ASU's resistance misplaced, says Finance Minister. ASU fires back, says it's illegal against varsity autonomy. Vows resistance restates its breach of 1992 agreements. Gentlemen, we'll be looking at this story. This integrated payroll system has been on since 2007. And it is to align all the payment systems and all of that. But then ASU is resisting this now. It's saying that arrears, or when it comes about benefits and all of that, it shouldn't be part of this system. And the federal government, through the finance minister, is saying that your resistance is misplaced. The accountant general of the federation is saying that this is going to is like endorsing corruption. I wonder how this comes to you, gentlemen. Chris.
Well, I know that some professionals or some industry, as it may be, have the autonomy. One is the university system. Two is the doctors, those in the medical field.
Yes.
And most often than not, you don't see them So this is the same with other public sectors, as it were. So ASU may have a genuine case in this case, but what my own fear and my own worry is that before you know it, this is going to crissball into another crisis, and the universities will be shut down, and students will now go suffer for it. When two elephants fight, it's always the grass that suffers. Which is why some of us, I personally, when I decided to go for my law program, I make the point of duty not to go to any government university, either state or federal, because I've come to realize that a federal, when you enter a federal university or state university, you only know your point of entry. Your point of exit is always a problem. It is always you don't have an idea, because anything could happen, and before you know it, the university will be shut down for 6 months, 8 months, 10 months, at times 1 year, and you will have lost. But in the private university system, which is working well, you can be rest assured that there will be no.
The 4-year program is 4 years.
I am in a 5-year law program in Lee City University. I know that in the next 2 years, I'll be leaving the university. Okay, that is. So those are the issues we'll be looking at. And the issue of ASU federal government has always, it has always been like a cat and dog. In fact, right from my days of in the 80s and in the 90s, it has always been the same. So I think that what the federal government needs to do with the Federal Ministry of Labor and Productivity, or Employment as it were, is to be able to sit down with us as quickly as possible to get this issue resolved. Not just the accountant general say, no, this will not happen. The finance minister and corruption and rest of them.
Shason, let's get your view to this issue.
Yeah, the two sides, if you ask them, they have reason for bringing this out. The accountant general insisting that they must be part of it, and the ASU stating that in their agreement in 1992, it's not going to give autonomy for them to operate. What I'll just say is, an accountant, there are standards at which we work with. And what they want to achieve is to have an holistic view in the preparation of their financials. And that's why we have this integrated system of operation. Remember, even with TSA, you used to have a uniform way of having your revenue. And if you are talking of the payroll system, is to eliminate ghost workers. And know definitely that people that are online with you, somebody is not collecting salary.
But has I really checked anything?
Yeah, you see, it's because some of the things that we use here, we don't follow through. There's always a shortcut to everything. So it's implementation and control that gives room for people to contest things. This shouldn't be something that we'll be arguing about. If you have an integrated system that is operational, what ASU, I'm sure, are actually fighting against is the bureaucracy setting when they're pushing those things, how to get their things out. But if the process is seamless, nobody will contest. Integrated payment system or payroll system is something that enhances, quick delivery. But when you have some of those things operational in Nigeria, it's always counterproductive. And that's what most people will not welcome it. I will go in line with what CKN says. The fact remains that they should remember our educational sector will suffer if they keep dragging this. Before you know it now, the next thing we hear is strike. And our strike, when it comes to ASU, it doesn't go for 1 week, 2 weeks, 1 month. It's always like, see, some people would have, for some ladies, they would have given birth and becoming a nursing mother before they resume. So this should be closed up. Let everybody pour out, let the Ministry of Labor intervene and see where this can be
already has so much on its plate already. It's still trying to ensure that the 30,000 naira minimum wage is paid. And adding this one.
That's their job, right? That's their duty.
That's the job. They won't call Ministry of Justice. They won't call Ministry of Petroleum.
It's their job.
It is their job. And I think there should be an interministerial committee that should be quickly set up to look at the grievances of ASU on this issue.
Especially it's saying it's challenging their autonomy.
Yes. Then if also, then the legal the Justice Ministry will also come in.
Yeah,
because it's very, very key. It is for the Justice Ministry to come in and to be able to interpret what has happened. Then, if it now gets beyond what they think, then they also have to go to court. Because, yes, definitely. You have to go to court to get a court interpretation of
the 1992 agreement.
You have to be able, yes, there must be a court. If it drags more than they think, they have to go to court for, and that court may also drag for years, because if you go to Federal High Court, you go to the Court of Appeal, then the final court, the Supreme Court has to give a final judgment. But we can have a middle course road in between that, and for ASU and the federal government to be able to come to terms with this.
All right, CK and Sheson Okwade, gentlemen, thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
TVC Breakfast. You're watching TVC Breakfast, and we're streaming live on YouTube. You can connect with us on Twitter using the hashtag TVC Breakfast.